further to the video recording right now. The longest I've ever made. And apparently it's going to take something like 4 hours to upload. Further to that, I talked about, on a video I called car attacks. 2 occasions in 4 days, one when I was nearly hit by a car and the other when I was. On the second I was hit by a car. I have stated quite clearly there was no doubt at all that the people in the alleyway were trying to hit me. They sped towards me very suddenly in a narrow alley, and as I said, I had to leap aside. Fortunately, 9 years ago I could do that. I couldn't now. And as I've also said, the woman leaned out of the passenger door and asked me if I'd left my fanny in the toilet. So clearly it was whether or not they intended to hit me is another matter. But it was clearly planned. I did see it at the kind of bottom of the alleyway as I stepped out into the top end of the alleyway. And I saw it idling outside this pub, and perhaps the pub was shut, and perhaps I did wonder what it was doing. It was 9 years ago. I did used to take late night walks at that time in that place. I couldn't sleep. It was a very noisy place. And in fact, the neighbour next to me had turned to alcohol in order to try to sleep. So late night walks were quite the norm, and I thought it was safe. Till that night, April the 8th, 2007, Easter Sunday. I've said in other videos that I'm very frightened of Easter. And I was very frightened of Easter long before that occasion. But I could not have psychically caused a car to speed towards me and the woman to speak those words. Perhaps I have good reason to be afraid of Easter, which is upcoming. And I've also said that no attempt was made to find the car. Actually, I got that slightly wrong. You think over these things and you think, oh God, yeah, it all comes back. Yes, I did report it. Of course I did. And described the car very clearly, which was very distinctive, had very, very distinctive headlights. Which, not being a car buff or a car owner, I find hard to describe, but I managed it. Sort of like headlights out on stalks, huge. And I did see the car parked not very far away, days later, and told the police, and they said they couldn't be sure which person was driving it, and therefore couldn't do anything about it. And 4 days later, when I was hit by the car, I couldn't think of the word. This keeps happening to me lately. I said the bus parking bay was inlaid. I meant it was set back off the road. It was a pull-in for buses, and quite a broad one at that. So although I had stepped off the curb, I had not stepped out into the moving traffic. I was still in the bus pull-in. And I still don't know how a car managed to hit me at speed in a bus pull-in, but it did. And that is how I was spun round and thrown to my knees on the pavement. That's how I landed on the pavement. I was that close to the pavement. Still in the bus pull-in, not on the road itself. And I've said that the car driver made no attempt to find out if I was all right. I'm not even sure how I know it was she. But she didn't get out of the car to check on me. And the police decided that that one wasn't worth following up either. Although it was rather clearly dangerous driving. If I'd been in the road itself, you could say I'd been jaywalking. But as it was a busy road, I didn't do that. I was careful about crossing roads. and generally I had my dog with me, so I was extra careful. So that's the 2 car attacks in 4 days, and I am now going to call the second one a car attack. 9 years down the line for me to decide no, it was not an accident. I was still coming awake in 2007. In fact, I'd only just begun to awaken. And it was in that year that I was writing Deadly Daddy. I thought I had begun to write it in the March of 2007, and yet I have a marriage certificate relevant to it dated 2006, i.e. I'd ordered it in 2006. Very relevant to it. So I must have started my research in the 2006 and started writing in around the March 2007. And lo and behold, in April 2007, I nearly get hit by a car, and I do get hit by a car, and as the ambulance driver said, I could very easily have been killed. Had it not caught me the blow that it did and spun me round. It slammed into my hip, and I do wonder now if that has anything to do with the degeneration of my spine. After all, it's all connected, isn't it? Oh, and my hips are degenerating as well. I can't imagine that being hit by, it's not a ton of metal, is it? How much does the car weigh? Well, it depends on the car. But I've never felt a blow like it, and having been married to a very, very violent man, I've felt some pretty violent blows. It's really hard to describe how it feels when you're hit by a car. And I can remember seeing the metal of the car right in front of my eyes, like centimeters from my eyes, and Jesus, I couldn't be this close to a car if it hadn't hit me. So, first of all, I said this gang stalking had been going for 3 years and only in this alley. Then I can easily take it back 6 years to 2010, when I had once actually uploaded Deadly Daddy to the internet, as I'm saying on the video uploading, and had a contract with Take a Break magazine in that year. Actually, I can take it back to the year in which I started writing the damn book and researching it, which is 2007. And now I wonder, I don't think so, but I wonder if that first incident in the guest house in November 2003 actually was in fact related to my search for my half-sister Karen. Just because I was a stranger in those parts doesn't mean that nobody knew. I'd been up at Women's Land, I'd talked to the women up there, I dare say I'd mentioned my search for my half-sister. And not only that, but the girlfriend who persuaded me to move to Wales and then dumped me the minute I got there knew I was going to Women's Land. She knew I was in Women's Land, and she most certainly knew all about what I was doing and about the fact that I'd been sexually abused by my father. She went a little further than that. She said, from what you're telling me, your mother and brother were probably involved as well in the sexual abuse. I still don't know if I completely buy that one. And I want to remain on good terms with my brother. And I don't think that my mother would have voluntarily become involved in sexually abusive behaviour. Of course, what people might do if they are being mind controlled is another matter altogether. Amazing, just watching one video And suddenly it all comes together. Not the distant past that I've spent so much time researching, but the comparatively recent past, the last decade, in which I have, in fact, become more and more and more isolated, gradually, until the last 3 years when I would describe it as almost total. In 2012 I was still seeing friends up in Aberystwyth, or people I considered friends anyway. This is a long one to add to the one that's currently uploading, but it's just all broken loose. Come to the surface. And then thinking back to people who aided and abetted the landlords who illegally entered my homes. One was a woman called Corina Cutler, that's C-O-R-R-I-N-A, Cutler, C-U-T-L-E-R. I think she was working for Tycantrev, and she became involved when my probation finished. The probation officer was a really decent bloke, really helpful. She, on the other hand, was only aiding and abetting my landlady. I would go up to Aberystwyth, a 2-hour round trip on the bus, and have to leave my dog because I had to meet her in an office. And I would get to Aberystwyth, so 1 hour of the journey would be complete by then. I used to meet her outside her office because she had to use a key to get in. And I would sit on a bench there and wait. I lost count of the times I texted her to say, "Are you coming, Corina?" "Oh, I've got locked into my office. Oh, I forgot. Oh, no, I can't make it after all." 9 times out of 10, she didn't make it. And she never, ever let me know beforehand that she couldn't make it. Not once. And she never apologized either. What she was a decoy, and she knew it. She would draw me up to Aberystwyth, where I was safely, a 2-hour bus ride round trip, away from my home, which gave my landlady plenty of time to go in my absence and not get caught doing it. That was what Corina Cutler was. She was a decoy, helping my landlady, not me. In other words, helping out a criminal, not me. And then when it came to the next residence in command, and as I've said, my landlord there, Nigel Roddenhurst, went in every time I went to Carmarthen to try to sort out the rent. What was happening there was a 3-way thing. I was on housing benefit, because by that time I had my diagnosis of COPD, etc., etc. And the housing benefit was being paid direct to my landlord. And because of the top-up, which people think does not apply to private rentals, but does, I didn't know if he was getting the full amount or not. So I would keep going to the housing office in Carmarthen and say, what's the state of play now then? Is he getting it or isn't he? We'll have to try and contact Llanelli and find out. Eventually I got a letter from Llanelli to say your landlord is getting pounds, gap, pence. No figure mentioned. I've still got that letter too. And in fact it's uploaded somewhere. Amazing how all my photographs got drowned in that sewage flood, and all my emails also vanished, and my email address went down, which nobody was ever able to explain to me. Never been able to use that email address again. So Carmarthen housing office would block me and tell me nothing. And on one occasion I went in, and it was February, And as soon as I went in, he handed me a letter that was dated December. No, it wasn't. It was March. And it was right on top of the pile, just waiting for me. And he said, oh yeah, here's his letter for you. Why wasn't it posted in December? He didn't have an answer. But he knew exactly where to find it. He went straight to the pile. It took him about 1 second to access that letter and give it to me. And that finally did tell me that there was a shortfall in the rent. By that time, I'd been in the property for nearly 4 months. The landlord himself would never tell me either. I would ask him, are you up to date on the rent? Are you getting the full rent? Oh, I don't know. I haven't checked my accounts this month. Oh, and he texted me 1 week after I moved in. Exactly 1 week. It was the 5th of December. Another reason I took to my bed and just lay in it. I'd unpacked in that week. I wish he'd sent the text or email or whatever it was. I wish he'd sent it the day I moved in, or told me the day I moved in, because I wouldn't have unpacked. And in fact, in this place, I never have unpacked. I've unpacked some stuff, but not much. Half at most. And I've been here over 2.5 years. But I never saw the point in unpacking after that. So he sent me this 1 week after I got there saying, I will not renew your contract at the end of the 6 months. I said, why? And he just sent the same text or email again. Just exactly the same words. No answer to the why. And I kept that place absolutely pristine. Absolutely pristine. But, then there was a sewage flood, and by that time, of course, I didn't want to stay. Which I think was the whole idea of the sewage flood. That I wouldn't want to stay. I was told by the people, I insisted on people coming in to clean it. He wasn't going to do that. He told me to clean it. And I said, no, it's too dangerous. And so he had to get in professional cleaners. And they said, yeah, you're dead right, it's too dangerous. What a lot of people don't know is that HIV and all sorts are in sewage water. And they measured the levels of contamination, and they were extremely high. Extremely high. Most of my furniture was, of course, damaged. All of my electrical goods were damaged. I mean, a standard lamp behind me that doesn't actually work. It's just decoration. I love lamps. I love light. None of my lamps has worked since then, and that's now 3 years ago. About a dozen lamps in this room, none of them working. And some of them are very expensive. But that's irrelevant, really. Except it isn't, because it's all incredibly depressing. All of it beats you down a little bit further, and you lose a little bit more confidence, and you become a little less trusting with each and every one of these things. And this is now another 18 minutes. I have a 25-minute one uploading at the moment. That's going to take 4 hours to upload. This looks like an all-day job.